Well, hello everybody. I'm Bert Cloud, and this is your Sunday forecast. Now, I'm recording this on the 2nd of August, and we are looking environmentally at another hot weekend. We've enjoyed the last couple of days being rather comfortable, mid 80s, and some people have been running home and opening up their windows. There was a conversation the other day about pulling out sweaters. I think that was more wishful than actual. Although I've seen people walking out of workplaces where the air conditioning is cranked just to kind of hold off the heat, and they're wearing fleeces. So it's a challenging time, and in fact, really, it's a challenging time for a number of folks who do not have access to the type of things that help make this kind of heat bearable. We worry about our environment, but we also know that people are really struggling right now. So please be mindful and prayerful and figure out some ways. Let's do all the best that we can to care for people in the midst of all of this. So that's the environmental forecast, sunny and 91 for Sunday. Now, in our sanctuary, it will be, well, we'll be making some decisions in our sanctuary. Kind of been doing that these last few weeks in this series about the questions that Jesus asks of us. We'll be returning to some similar familiar territory. We'll be in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, and I'll start with the second half of verse 34 and go all the way to the end of the chapter with verse 38. I'll read that for you in just a moment, just to give you some context. It is right around Caesarea Philippi. We've talked about this from Luke the other day, but this is the Mark version. A little bit different order, but some of the same things. But what we hear from Jesus is kind of expanded out. And so the question becomes very much like, what are you going to do? So let me read this for you. Jesus has had a conversation with Peter and the disciples. Who do you say that I am? And they tell him who they say. And Jesus says, well, you need to know that the trajectory is this. And he points out that he'll have to go through all this, through Jerusalem and through the cross. And the disciples start to fuss. Peter says, no, we're not going to let that happen. And Jesus says, pretty famously, says, get behind me, Satan, which had to be a terrible moment in everyone's life that was standing there. What an indictment. So that happens. And then Jesus gathers the crowd together and says, all who want to come after me must say no to themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. And all who want to save their life will lose them. But all who lose their lives because of me and because of the good news will save them. Here's the question. Why would people gain the whole world but lose their lives? Similar question. What will people give in exchange for their lives? Whoever is ashamed of me, he goes on, whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this unfaithful and sinful generation, you can see him kind of shaking his head. He says, the human one, he's speaking about himself, the Son of Man, the human one, it's referred to in this translation. The human one will be ashamed of that person when he comes in the Father's glory with the holy angels. Wow. Now, after that, he goes on to go to the top of the mountain. He's transfigured, and you should know a big part of that story. If not, just keep reading in chapter 9. Our family has, recently kind of as we, find ourselves with some downtime, maybe we're, had a chance to, get a pizza and watch TV or something like that. My wife and my mother-in-law and I have a guilty pleasure of watching Deal or No Deal. We're watching it on Netflix. We're watching game shows that have happened already in the past. Maybe you have seen Deal or No Deal. It was very popular at the time that it was first broadcast, and then it had a reboot a few years ago. And Howie Mandel, uh, would work with a guest who was trying to win $1 million, and there were models with cases. Maybe you've seen this. I won't go into all the details, but there was a game of chance where the person had an opportunity to win a very small amount of money or a huge amount of money, depending on their selection of a particular case. And the idea really behind that was there would be risk for the television show. They would not want the person to walk out with as much money as they could. Kind of they did. That was sort of the premise. There was a person who was in the shadows, always uh, called the banker, and they would make an offer to the contestant to. I tell you what, you can have this amount of money if you will walk away right now. The idea being that the odds would be in favor or, kind of pushing up against, a headwind against somebody winning or losing. And the banker was to keep the person from walking away with as much money as they could, kind of risk mitigate. It's remarkable to think about how we do that in our lives all the time. But Jesus in this is saying, what's the trade off? What what are we what are you doing? What have you given up for what you think is important? So on Sunday, that's what we will be doing. I won't have a banker. That would be kind of cool though. But maybe all of us as contestants will be having to make decisions about, do we take the deal or is there more? Not in a risky way, but in a way that would potentially satisfy everything that we long for and we think we need. So, friend, I hope that you'll join us on Sunday and that you will try to stay as cool as you can, that you will look in on that neighbor who may be having to deal with something, or that you would contribute in some way to um, taking care of people, that you would find ways to love well. And I will be with you on Sunday, hoping that we will be able to love together quite well. God bless you. Take care. See you Sunday.